Testing.
Testing. Test.
Microphone check.
Microphone check.
1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2. Oh. Get rid of that echo. Microphone check. 1 2 1 2. Okay. Anything else I have to do here? Oh yeah, one more thing. Excuse me. Okay, I think we're good now. Okay, I think that's gonna be. Gonna have to move that a little bit. Oh, hello. Let's see here. Hello, Jeremy Borno. Good topic, because there's so much movies that are like, oh, cool, you're a cinemaphile. Is that what they call them? A film buff. Oh, you love Sunset Boulevard, a meta-commentary classic music about the dark side of Hollywood and fame. Yeah, I think my movie picks will not be as deep as that, but that's great. That's great. So, hello. For those watching later on, or maybe you'll come in eventually, you'll see the VOD or whatever, or maybe you're just tuning in and you'll know it's the first time you're watching the Black Ponderer. The Black Ponderer is a YouTube channel where we talk about philosophy. And, primarily we just talk about philosophical texts. We hone in on themes that are in the philosophy text, and then we just do commentary about it, dialogue. And that's a lot of fun. We do that, and those are just usually my videos. But then sometimes I do these live streams, which are cool. And so the live streams are more like hangout sessions. Just imagine you're like at a bar or a club, a night lounge, or something like that. You're like you're just having a casual conversation. Maybe you're in the tables in the back. Maybe next to the pool, the billiard tables. I call it pool, the game. Or we're not on the dance floor. Maybe it's a nightclub with a dance floor, but we're in the back. We're in the back chilling at the tables next to the walls and stuff where the lights are dim, and we're just chilling. So that's cool. That's how you gotta see these more or less. So it's conversational, but we definitely still talk about philosophy, but it's dialectical. It's dialogue. So today we're going to be talking about favorite movies, and we're going to talk about maybe the philosophy in these movies, but we might just not do that. I don't know. We might not get that deep, but I think I will. So I'm going to talk about some of my favorite movies, and then you can talk about yours. Feel free to insert discussion topics. We can go on tangents. That's fine, because we're just hanging out. It's good to get sidetracked. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. So I think I didn't really say anything in my description here. Let's see. I said, so I'm just reading the description that I wrote here. Let's hang out and talk about philosophy. Specifically, I don't know, my pronunciation has been lacking as of late. Let's talk about the philosophy behind some of our most favorite films. Character development, themes, mood, tone, plot, pacing, acting, sound design, visuals. We're going through the full scale of cinematography in this philosophical discussion. So yeah, we're just going to talk about cinematography and all that, and character development, visuals and music, sound design, acting ability, pacing, plot. Yeah, we're going through the whole nine. All right, so cancel that. And then Jeremy says, "What do you think of Disney movies?" I was just talking about that with my yesterday with my wife. Do you think there are deep meaning behind pop culture? Oh yeah, like you know, you can derive meaning in almost anything, kind of. If you kind of search hard enough. But yeah, Disney's fun. What was I talking about the before I get started with my favorite movies? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about. We were talking, me and my wife. I brought up how people were criticizing the Little Mermaid, the new remake, because the character is black. The Little Mermaid's black. And I'm just like, and there's a lot you can go on there. Of course, racism and all this, all that stuff, which is all very important. But I'm just like, wow, you really have to be, your priorities in life really have to be far, like misplaced if what you're tripping about is like the Little Mermaid being black. Like, and you got to notice that. Who's getting mad is like 40-year-old men, right? So it's not like little kids. I mean, this is a little kids film. You got the cartoon. You can just get the Disney Plus, and you can watch the cartoon with the white lady. But the original. So the original tale of Little Mermaid, right, is very violent. Like if you were to actually make a detailed, like an accurate depiction of the original tale, you'd have to rate that movie R. It would not be a children's movie, right? So Disney, they remake, these grim fairy tales, right, that are like very violent and, have a lot of mature dark themes, and they just rehash them. And it's not just that, stuff like The Lion King is based off of some old Chinese tale and such and such. It's not original, but. Disney is Disney. Disney is magical. I like Disney. The movies are cool. We could talk a lot about the animation and how cool that is. But at the end of the day, Disney is a corporation. That's how it started. Walt Disney was a businessman. That's what he was. Some people will say like, "Well, he was an artist." Well, I don't know. Yeah, he was, but he was definitely into his business. And it also you realize, like, if you don't. I remember watching a documentary about Walt Disney. All of his movies, the first movies, they didn't give him any financial return. Like Snow White and like Dumbo and Bambi. Like they all lost return on investment, right? because they were just so expensive. Pinocchio. It's just fascinating. So I don't know. I look at Disney like, yeah, it's just like it's a corporation that just doesn't really come out with anything original. But I like Disney. I like The Lion King and The Rescuers Down Under. That was a good. The Rescuers. I remember that was a cool one. And all those Disney movies, Mulan. I'm not a Disney fan per se. I mean, they're cool. They're cool movies, but yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, Mulan. Yeah, my favorite movies from childhood. The Incredible. Yeah, The Incredibles. I remember that. That was Pixar. Yeah, when Disney and Pixar were working together, right? Yeah, that was. I think I've seen that like once. Yeah, it was cool. Mulan was, I couldn't. I was one of those kids. I think I was like a little too old for Mulan. I wasn't that old. I think I was like a preteen or something. Yeah, I couldn't get into Mulan. I was watching it. They had Eddie Murphy was a dragon. And I'm like, it's alright. Space Jam was funny. Yeah, I mean, it's just stupid. And it's like, you kind of wasted your time. Well, It's just dumb. They trip it off of it. I just think like there's many more things to be mad at, but why are you getting mad at that? Just like, but whatever. What would children be like if the movies were of Grimm's first? They'd probably be traumatized, right? We'd probably be traumatizing children if we were showing them the actual Grimm tale, which is why they dumbed them down, right? Uh-huh. Okay, so let me show you some of my favorites. Now, Space Jam. I used to have the soundtrack, and I would play it. Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. But let me see if I can set this up. So what I want to do is, okay, you're gonna see some. Let's see how I can do this. Okay, all right. Display capture. Maybe it won't be that bad. I want to show some visuals here. All right. Let's see where are we going here. All right, we gotta do this, and we're gonna try and do this, and then we're going to. I would do this. Okay, let's see what happens. All right, something crazy going on. I'm gonna move this over here. Then I'm going to. Can I do? No, that doesn't work. Okay, hold on a minute. I know what I'm supposed to do. Wait a second. I guess that kind of works. We'll try doing that. We'll see what happens. All right. So let me talk you through some of my favorite movies, and then of course you could always interject with your own favorite movies. That's cool. I think I'm gonna need a tissue. Cause starting to get cold. Up in here. Okay, so my all-time favorite movie, my movie of all time. It came out in the 70s. I should have did research. I think it came out in 1976, way before I was born. All right, so this is an old ass movie. It's called Assault on Precinct 13. It's by John Carpenter, the director John Carpenter. I think he wrote it. He did the music for it. It's basically his thing. And John Carpenter is the famous like horror movie maker. He's most famous for Halloween. With Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers. But before he came out with Halloween, he came out with this movie. It's called Assault on Precinct 13. And is this a highly philosophical film? No, right? But it's really fun. It's fun. I really like the movie, and I can tell you a little bit about it, and I'll tell you why I like it. But I think there is some cool things that are deeper than the action. So what it's about? It's about this gang. So a white hot night of hate. The gang that swore a blood oath to destroy Precinct 13 and every cop in it. So it's about this gang. They're basically like they're a cult. Basically, they're a cult. And it's a gang, and it's interesting because they play off of the whole idea that gangs are like racial. Like there's black gangs and white gangs and like Mexican gangs and stuff like that. But this gang is multiracial. It has like whites, blacks, Latinx people, which is weird. They make an emphasis on that. Like it's strange. Like so they have this cult mentality, and they don't they just are kind of like zombies, pretty much. and the movie starts off with them doing this blood oath thing. It's very strange. But what happens is the guy, the one of the gang leaders. I think there's multiple leaders, right? But one of the white gang leader, he's just like, the guy's so crazy. He's just shooting. He just has his gun scope, and he's just like, scoping around, just like, trying to pick his target. Just random people. He just has a gun with a scope. Eventually, what happens is he finds some random target, but then like a little girl gets in the way, and he just like shoots the little girl and kills the little girl. Right, little girl, and then, this is 1970 something, so it's pretty. It's like, whoa, shit, okay. And he's cold faced. He don't care. He's like, what? He shoots him like a robot. Shoots this girl like a robot. The father sees it. The father of the girl sees this, and he just loses his mind. Like he goes crazy. Like he just loses it, and so he's able to get a gun, and he shoots and kills the gang leader. Right. Now, this father of this girl that was murdered by this gang leader, the father killed the gang leader, and now the gang is after this father. The entire gang, these crazy people. This guy he's good at. The whole entire gang wants this guy dead. He runs into this precinct that just started. The police station is a police station, right? They just opened it up, right? It's not even like ready yet. They have two prisoners in there. They're in jail temporarily. The guy who's like in charge, he's like, it's his first day on the job of that precinct. Like the captain or something. It's just him, and it's a black guy, he's got an afro because it's the 70s. And that's it, So it's back in that day. That was kind of new. It was new to depict like this black cop, right, with an afro, right. And it's really serious too. The tone of it is not like it's not like blaxploitation, Shaft type of stuff. It's like it's Halloween level. So it's him, and then it's the black cop, and then it's these secretaries, these lady secretaries who are not even cops; they're just secretaries, and it's just the three of them, right? And so the gang has to is just charging, trying to get into the police station, and it's like. It's hordes of them. They're coming in like zombies, right? Basically, and so the police officer makes the decision to like allow the prisoners free because they need all hands on deck because it's like this because the father is like hiding. He chose that place to hide, and so they're just trying to get in there to kill the father because he murdered the gang leader. So it's basically kind of this tower defense situation where there's the gang is trying to infiltrate this police station, but they're constantly getting assaulted, and this cop and like these two prisoners, and this white prisoner, black prisoner, and these two secretaries, like this these two ladies are there on a shootout, right? And I say the race because this is the 70s, so race relations are like, top of mind during this. So it's quite innovative in that day to have that kind of like multiracial thing going on. The other cool thing was like the prisoners were let free to defend the police station, right? And they have to shoot these gangsters, right? So there's that. They also have like the gangs have they have silencers, like they have these on the weapon, the silencer, right? But back then, that was new technology in the 70s, so that was like something new. Like, so a lot of people went to the theater seeing this for the first time. They're like, "Whoa, what's that?" Like, because you normally shoot a gun is super loud, but you put a silencer on it, and it dramatically decreases the sound, so they don't know where the shots are coming from because they're also getting sniped left and right. It's crazy. It's great. And another cool thing about this movie is the music is awesome. Like, it's all synthetic, like old school synthesized music, and it was all made by John Carpenter. He makes music for his movies. Like, he did the same thing with Halloween, where it's like, the famous Halloween theme song, like that whole jingle. But he did the same. So the soundtrack is like, it's like a cult classic. And John Carpenter actually he comes out with albums, which is kind of fun. But I really like this movie because it's just like it's really it's crazy. It just kind of goes over the top, like, it's kind of a different take on like the zombie thing, because they're not really zombies. They're just these cult. It's this cult really that's trying to infiltrate, and they're trying to take over the police station, but it's like these few people inside have to defend. And it's hard because these crooks, these prisoners, are kind of collaborating with the police officer and the secretaries, and so there's this trust issue. But they have to trust each other, because if they don't do that, they're gonna die. So then they kind of learn about themselves. And, so yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. So that's the first movie. So is this like a highly philosophical movie? No, right? But I like the tone. I like the situation. I like action movies kind of. But I like action movies that kind of have like depth in them. I think this one has a bit kind of has that depth, because they tackle like race relations, and then they tackle like, what the meaning behind what police are, and then they're like, who really is a criminal, and the nature of violence. Just all this shit kind of in this action movie. I like it. Another favorite of mine is Stand By Me. Stand By Me is a great movie. Is that the one with River Phoenix? Is that the one I'm thinking about? And Wesley from Star Trek. I forgot the guy's actual name. Yeah, Wesley from Star Trek, and then they got the guy from 24. I'm very bad with celebrity names. I don't know, but I can associate them with the shows they played in. Yeah, that was a great movie, because they Corey Feldman, who's like, he's now, that guy's coming out with like music that's really bad. I didn't know, he's actually crazy in real life. I didn't, he's crazy in that movie, but he's basically playing himself in the movie, huh? Don't you think? I remember I looked him up. I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's actually kind of out there. He's kind of crazy in real life too. So I guess he was playing himself in the movie. I don't know. But yeah, that's a great movie. It's great, camaraderie, friendship, boyhood, going through tough times, kind of, standing up for yourself. Yeah, that's, coming of age. That's a good one. That's a good one. I think that's based off of a Stephen King story, right? All right, so let's go see another one. Yeah, the leech scene. that was pretty intense. Oops. Okay, let's bring it back. Oops. I'm gonna get it. Okay, so what I want to do is take this away, and yeah, one of these days I'm gonna make this work. I would be more professional, but now it's not that day. Yeah, the leech scene with There's also a scene where there's they're telling the story and there's like projectile vomiting, like also kind of disgusting in that movie. Right? Anyway, so this is like I would say this is my second favorite movie of all time. It's called 12 Angry Men. Now this is a more philosophical movie, right? I would say this, if we're trying to get into the theme of the Black Ponderer. Very famous movie, also very old, is a black and white movie. Came way before I was born. Right, has the main characters Henry Fonda, and I'm sure they got other famous actors that I'm not familiar with. But it's about these men who are a jury. They got jury duty, and they're trying to decide whether they want to convict this. There's a boy. He's like 17 or something, or 16. Yeah, he's a boy, I think, or maybe he's like a young man. I forgot. Maybe he's like 18. He's a young adult, right? He might even be like an older teenager, right? But he is convicted of a crime, and we don't really know the exact details. But he has a death penalty, and they're deciding whether this young adult is gonna get the death penalty. So they have this debate, like this jury duty, and everybody is like, yeah, let's give this kid needs the death penalty. But one guy, the main dude, like Henry Fonda, he's like, you know what? I don't know if we should condemn this person to death. And everybody gets really annoyed. They're like, what the hell, man? Like, we just want to go. But he's, the Henry Fonda, like this main guy, he's like, we really do need to seriously think about this, because we're, sending a person to death. Like, are we sure? Right? So then it gets really deep. You watch that movie a month ago? Yeah, the movie is awesome, because it starts getting into like, it gets into all types of, first of all, it talks about the criminal justice system, right? And it talks about how is the jury duty system really the most perfect system, right? Or like, what does it mean to be a member of the jury? It talks about, because you start understanding the reasons why people are deciding that this kid needs to die is they're projecting. They have biases, right? They have biases. Some of these biases are racial. Some of these biases are xenophobic, right? And they work through all that. It gets really intense really fast. Some people just don't give a damn, and the main character is like, you got to care about this shit. There's an immigrant who's a jury member, and the immigrant's like, wait a minute, maybe we should, because xenophobia gets discussed here, and then they talk about they talk about the nature of America, like the American dream, and like, people who come to America, what do they, do they really reach, like, work hard and the pursuit of happiness, like, how true is that? It gets really intense, right? I really love this movie. You said that movie supposedly changed screenwriting rules. What do you think? Did it? I don't know. I'm not aware of that. I don't know how. I'm not aware of the screen. I haven't read the script, the screenplay. I've just seen the film. Like, it has excellent dialogue. That's for sure. There's some really awesome dialogue. Really intense. You kind of get at the edge of your seat. It's pretty impressive for a movie that old. But a lot of those old classic movies they really do that. Oh, it was? Okay. It was pushing dialogues for it. Well, yeah, probably. I know a lot of like older movies back then were like very heavy were very dialogue heavy. uh, Certainly 12 Angry Men was definitely not the first movie with this kind of intense dialogue that's, of its time. Like, a lot of movies back then they did have really intensive dialogue, and we kind of moved away from that kind of with newer film, where it was more focused on using like visuals to tell a story, rather than just kind of, back in the screen, like in those days, movies were more like plays because you can only do so much with the visuals back then. I would say like they relied a lot more on dialogue back in those days to convey the story, as opposed now there's a lot more tools we can use. So dialogue isn't as relied on. A lot of times, like in today's movies, the less is more approach is used, right? Where back then it was like the more dialogue, the better, right? Dialogues that expose bias and story development that weren't conventional. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure like a lot of the topics that were discussed were like topics that people didn't want to talk about back. I mean, they don't want to talk about these kinds of things now, so I can only imagine back then. They're like, damn. But I would highly recommend this movie. Very good. And if this is kind of more like Black Ponderer style stuff. Let's go to the next one. So again, this one, although you might, I guess one could say that there is some philosophy in it, but yeah, I don't know. I think you're really stretching it. I just like it because it's a blast. Hello, like, come on now. This is my third favorite movie of all time. Terminator 2. Judgment Day. I mean, come on, like you can't. No, I mean it's up to you. If you are like, hey, that's a generic ass movie, that's fine with you. But I think most people, when you're talking about like one of the greatest movies ever made, of course, like Terminator 2 is going to be somewhere on that list of like top 100. Like it's definitely, absolutely one of the greatest action movies ever made, right? For sure. I mean, everybody knows what this movie is about. This is the second one. The first one is awesome too. Some people like the first one better. I like the second one better. The premise, like an AI, artificial intelligence becomes sentient, takes over like all of technology, and uses it to wage war against humanity, right? And so humanity has to fight back, and I guess a human being called John Connor takes the lead and like becomes a commander, and like he's the one that gives humanity the edge to win the war. And so the robots try and send robots back into the past to take out John Connor before he grows up to like lead humans to victory, right? And that's it's crazy, right? It's saying it out loud is like kind of over the top, right? But it's cool. The first one takes place before John Connor's not even born yet. They're trying to take out his mother. The second one, he's a little boy. He's a little, and they bring in this top of the line T-1000 to kill him, but then they got the model from the old movie, the first one, who was sent to kill him. Now he's protecting him, right? So that's the whole thing. So why is this movie good? First and foremost, it just has really good action scenes, like amazing action scenes, right? They got an awesome car chase. They got multiple car chases that are awesome. They have like cool shootouts, right? They got some hand-to-hand combat that's amazing. Of course, like there's the famous scenes of the robot, the T-1000, running, try to catch up with who actually does catch up with the car because he got super. And of course, that music, it's just so spot on, right? So of course the action scenes are just awesome. But then you also have this kind of this storyline that is very outlandish, right? But somehow is able to work. It's somehow able to work, you know. I think one of the coolest things about this movie, right, is so, you know, in the first movie, Terminator 1, the first one, you know, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the Terminator. And that movie has so many deaths. Like that Terminator, I mean, hundreds of people die in that movie. Like he goes, I mean, there's a scene where he goes into like a party, like, you know, one of those 80s, you know, dance parties, cheesy dance 80s party. And he's just shooting up the whole, you know, he blows up a police station. I mean, he's just killing people left and right, right? Because he's the Terminator. That's what he does, right? Now, in this movie, he doesn't kill anybody, right? Because John, the boy, and John Connor, who's like, he's supposed to protect him. John Connor is like, you can protect me, but you can't kill anybody. And then, and the Terminator, this robot, is like, I don't understand why, like, you want me to not kill anybody? He's like, no, you can't. You can't do that. He's like, why? You just, yeah, John Connor's like, you just can't. You can't do that. It's just something you can't do. Terminator's like, all right, well, I'm programmed to protect you, so I won't do that. So he, you know, he shoots up cars and military machines and blows up tanks, but he doesn't kill anybody, right? He beats people up, and you know, I think the premise, like the idea behind it, was like, you know, John Connor has this trait, like he's like he has this trait, he has this respect for life. And he has this kind of, you know, his view on life and like maybe even compassion, because his mother, who was in the first movie, but now is in the second movie, she tries to like kill some guy, the lead person from the corporation, who's like created this AI, but then her son is like, don't kill her, mom, because he just believes like you shouldn't kill people. Right. And so, like, I think what the movie is implying was like the reason why John Connor is able to lead human beings to victory is because he's able to like preserve what makes people human beings, like this respect for life. And like that trait is how he's able to command humans to victory. You know, and then the other thing is he's able to, because the Terminator is trying to learn the nature of John Connor and the nature of human beings, and I think the Terminator learns human nature through like John Connor's compassion, right? So he's like, oh, this is what it means to be human, to have respect for life and all this stuff, and have compassion and kindness and that kind of stuff. And it was kind of going really deeply philosophical in that way. Unfortunately, they you know, as the series progressed, they kind of ditched that whole thing. Like, you know, when Terminator 3 and 4 and Salvation, I think it was called, John Connor, I think he's played by Christian Bale, and John Connor just doesn't give a fuck. He's just killing people. Like none of that character was preserved. They did have that television show, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which kind of tries to expand it, but I think even that show did not, you know, they kind of ditched that and went a different route. But it's still like, at least the John Connor still had depth, whereas like the future movies, they kind of lost that depth. But I do like, you know, it would have been nice, and the plan was to end Terminator 2, like that was supposed to be the last one, and that would have been cool. Like, oh, okay, like this is how humanity is saved, through John Connor's compassion. But you know, they were like, nah, we still gotta make movies, so let's keep it rolling. It's too bad. And then what you saying? Favorite classic movie of mine is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Yeah, no, I remember it. See, that's another classic movie that has like heavy, extreme, intensive dialogue. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of new movies that have that. But I think a lot of the new movies that are very popular or don't have that. I'm sure I'm sure there are plenty of new movies that have that kind of like very intense, like heavy dialogue, kind of Shakespearean almost, but like not without the old English, right? Where they just like relying on the dialogue to just carry everything. Uh, yeah, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is like one of those. Like there was a lot of movies back in the old school days, the black and white days, that were like that. Yeah, there's quite a few. So yeah, I remember Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is also a very good movie. Are you familiar with Mae West? No, I'm not. The writer of Terminator is the same for the Matrix. Oh, okay, so here that kind of makes sense, right? Even the same kind of premise, right? Machines become sentient, take over mankind. So it makes sense. Also, like another series that starts out philosophical, but then as the series keeps going, it becomes less and less philosophical. Right? I haven't even seen the Matrix 4. I've heard it's very bad. Like my brother tells me, like, don't even waste your time. It's like it's so boring. He told me, I'm like, okay, I will watch it. And themes of reality and humanity. Yeah, I mean, shared premise. Let's go to another one. Another movie that I like. Again, like, not all these movies are philosophical. Oh, I did it again. Sorry. Okay. What's going on here? Nope. Do that. And then, okay, got this. Drag it in here. All right. So, another one of my favorite movies, Jurassic Park. I'm sorry. I'm a fan of action. Now, is this a philosophical movie? I mean, there's a little philosophy in here. The man's drive to create and to like the hubris of man to bring back dinosaurs, but then to create things that are too big to become gods, but the whole god complex, which is I forgot the guy's name, the old guy with the cane with the amber and the preserved genetic code in the amber. He is God the man's hubris is his downfall. Basically, kind of the big philosophical idea behind Jurassic Park. And then you say, how many siblings do I have? I have two. I have a twin brother. My twin brother is fraternal. That means we don't look alike. We don't look exactly alike. Fraternal twins. But yeah, I have a twin brother, and then I have an older brother who's like 10 years older than me. So I have two brothers, and that's it. Yeah. And then, okay, so Jurassic Park, what makes this movie good? Of course it's got a little philosophy, but that's not really what makes the movie good. What I like about this movie, and this is more, now we're just talking about philosophy. Okay, it says X. I was just checking my... Okay, just making sure my levels are good and all that. Okay, yeah. So what makes this movie good is like it's the cinematography. And it's fine. We can talk about cinematography. That's all good. I like how this movie it's basically Jurassic Park is a series of standalone scenes that are very good. Like you can break this movie into chunks, vignettes, if you will. Which I love that. I love movies that you can kind of break into little chunks and vignettes. And I will say, like, modern movies, you really can't do that. And I do miss that about like old school movies, even movies from the 90s. Like modern movies, they there's this drive to have these overarching arches, and you watch like a part of the movie, like you walk in the middle of a movie and you don't know what the hell is going on, right? And you would think like, well, of course that makes sense, right? You should watch a movie from beginning to end. But I would say like old school movies like Jurassic Park. I guess that's old school now. Like you could just jump, even like the black and white movies like 12 Angry. You could just kind of go in the middle of it, and you'll still be able to like understand what's going on. And you'd have these like little moments that were cool. Like Jurassic Park, you had the scene, when the little kids are running away from the raptors in the kitchen, and then you had the scene, of course, where they're in the rain, and they got the T-Rex scene, right? And then they're all little broken up scenes. They're like they're mini movies. There's like, I don't know, like 20 different little mini movies in this movie, right? Which is what, I think that's kind of the beauty of this movie. Like, this movie is like a series of awesome scenes, right? Just awesome scenes. There's no like lackluster scene in this movie. They're all like amazing. Like, you could take like any like 10-minute chunk and be like, and you could just have that as a standalone movie, and it'll be great, right? Like that's what makes this movie really good, I think. Is that quality that it has? That's what I would say about Jurassic Park. A favorite 1970s movie is Cabaret. Okay, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. It showcases the hit and rise of fascism during the 1930s Germany and the prior carefree lifestyles. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's something. Let's keep it rolling. Let's like not. Let me step away and go to some highbrow stuff. So I don't, because I know many people are here for the highbrow. I did that correctly. That's funny. That's the first time. Is that good? Yeah, I think that's cool. Okay, cool. So, of course, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's not everybody's gonna like this movie, but I love it. 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, I guess somebody who likes dry-ass philosophy probably would like something like this, right? This is an amazing movie. I see why some people will say like this is the greatest movie ever made. I see that. I can understand that point of view. I don't think it's the greatest movie ever made. But if somebody were to tell me that, I'd be like, oh, I get it. It's just like it uses cinematography in such a philosophical way that it's pretty spellbinding, right? The movie is like, I don't know, 3 hours long or something like that. And they have scenes that kind of feel like they go forever. But this is more of it's not just a mood and tone type of movie. Like a lot of this movie is just, as the cool kids say, it's vibes. It is a lot of just vibes, sure. And mood and tone is like basically a lot of what this movie is, but it's also like got these really deep philosophical messages. But it's conveyed like without much dialogue. Right? They use cinematography to convey a lot of it. They use a lot of scale. They use like massive time jumps where they start the movie in prehistoric times, and then they instantly jump to like the far, far future, like way like thousands of years before. Well, I guess it's 2001. Right? Which is thousands of years. Where man is piloting spaceships and stuff, and and they also convey a huge scale in terms of like how big the planets are compared to the size of like little spacecrafts and the distances between worlds, and there's a lot of emptiness and a lot of space, which they use a lot. And then they also tackle the whole idea of artificial intelligence and like the distance between human beings and machines, and like how vast that is. But at the same time, we're a lot closer to machines than we would like to think. Which the movie kind of it definitely highlights. It highlights that. Incredible movie. I love it a lot. We'll just keep rolling here because I see we're kind of getting to the hour mark. But there, then you say, I love Jurassic Park. Cool. 2001 must be a prophetic movie to watch. It's awesome. Would I say every person should watch that movie? I would definitely not say that. But I would, because many people are not gonna like that movie, and that's understandable because some people might find it extremely boring, but I like it. Okay, let me get some more highbrow movies in here. There we go. So this is a little indie movie that I like. This is another one of my favorite movies. Now this is like one of those artsy fartsy. I mean, the movie is literally called High Art, right? It's one of those artsy fartsy. Is one of the first movies I saw that was like one of those like art house movies. I would say, and maybe some people wouldn't think this is too art housey, but I would say as a compared to like Jurassic Park or Terminator 2 or something. It's called High Art. And it's just about like these two people who are in shitty relationships. And so, but then they find each other. And these are two people. These are two people, and they kind of get into a relationship themselves, which is also pretty shitty. So it's like two people in these really, not the best situations in terms of their relationships. Then they meet, and then they do fall in love, but it's also not the best, and it's kind of like but I like the aesthetic of it. It's very, it's like the classic indie film before, like indie movies were like, now it's almost like indie movies are mainstream, right? But I think this came out in the 90s, right? So I'm trying to think what makes it good. It has that indie vibe to it. It does feel very authentic. I like the way it's shot. It feels like the way it's filmed. You feel like you're kind of there. The way it's shot, you kind of feel like you're sitting with the characters. They do a lot of what is it called? Director of photography did an awesome job because the lighting in this movie is very good. It makes you feel. It draws you in. The acting is like superb. Very good acting. I think. I just like it. So. I more like the aesthetic of it. The acting is good, and I like how this movie is. Is not like the happy endings are like not always a thing that happens in life, and there's plenty of movies that highlight that. Like many movies don't end happily, or like showcase like bad situations that don't get really any better. But there is still growth. There is still growth in those type of situations, and this movie kind of does that very well. So I like that. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, and might as well, since I'm showing this, and we have this actor here, right? The actor is. I did it again. Alright, sorry. Okay, we do that. Okay, where are we at? Boom, boom. Yeah, it's just another classic movie, which is fun. And so that's the actor. Where is it at? Yeah. So it's Ali Sheedy. She's the basket case. So this famous 80s movie. Brat Pat, I think they were called back in the day. The Breakfast Club. They only met once, but it changed their lives forever. Is it melodramatic? Yes. Is it like, can it get kind of corny and a little cheesy at times? Yes. But it's great. This is another movie that relies heavily on dialogue. Much like I like those kinds of movies. I guess I like movies where people are kind of forced in really difficult conversations. I do like that. Like, and the conversations are, treated. They're conveyed. They're expressed realistically, right? Meaning, like, people are throwing insults at each other. People are kind of like yelling at each other. People are, because that happens in real life. Like, a lot of that nowadays, you see that happening online. Via Twitter, Facebook, and all this shit. But back then they didn't have the Twitter, they had to do that in person, right? And so you see a lot of that messiness, and it's pretty cool because in this movie you got the bully, you got the jock, the nerd, the cheerleader, and you got the weirdo. Right? So you got these teenagers that are very different from each other. But so you got all these different perspectives clashing. They're in detention. They're all in detention, and they gotta like serve detention together. And they start like talking about like why life sucks. They talk about being a teenager, and I just like the clashing of the different perspectives, and ultimately the coming to realize that they're basically the same, pretty much. Like, despite like their very different experiences, they realize like, we're going through the same shit, overall. And I wish like more that happened in like real life, and that's actually that has happened to me in real life, where I've had really deep, very difficult conversation. I mean, that's literally happened to me on this channel, right? We'd have like in the comments, YouTube comment sections, but I've had these kinds of things in real life too, where you're talking about we're having very uncomfortable conversations, and then and not like shying away, just keep like pushing and just going through the uncomfort, and then realizing through that, like, we're actually coming from the same perspective, aren't we? We just kind of had to work it out a little bit. Acting is, I love the acting in this movie. Just is awesome. Does Breakfast Club explore high school culture? Oh yeah, does it ever? It definitely does. Like, I think it delves into stereotypes like nerds and jocks. Well, I mean, honestly, like, high school has that. Like, I mean, my high school had the athletic people, and they kind of stayed in their own clique. My high school had the nerds. I was a nerd. Like, I guess it was a little different for me because, I wasn't really bullied and shit. but I mean, it's kind of different. But you do have your valley. You do have your popular kids. Like, I mean, these are tropes that exist. I don't know. Maybe your school didn't have that kind of thing, but my school definitely had bully. Like, they had these kinds of kids where they were just like troubled. They had really horrible upbringings, and they just went to school and took that out on other people. Like, that's definitely a thing that I experienced, and knew people that were like that. And then you had your weirdos. You're just like your basket cases. Your people who are like, man, this person is like just out there, right? I've known many people in high school. I'm still friends with them to this day. So I don't know. But creating cliques is bullshit and anti-intellectual. Yeah, no, that's true. It is bullshit, but it happens. It happens, doesn't it? Like, it actually. I mean, it's bullshit, but bullshit happens all the time, right? But I think so. What's cool about this movie is that they, these people would have never have been together. They would have just been in their cliques, but they were forced to get to kind of be together because they were in detention. So that broke down the clique, right? And they kind of learned it. By the end, they're like, I think we're cool. It's pretty awesome. I ignore nonsense in my high school. Well, that's good. That's good for you. That's good for you. Yeah, I just remember, and I think I that didn't affect me in my high school years that much. Actually didn't really like school personally. It's particularly high school, and I think I didn't really like school because of the clique shit, among other things, right? I loved learning, but the school environment was I just was not a fan. but but you ignored it, but a lot of people do not ignore it. Right? It's I don't know. I thought this was kind of, even though it was a little cheesy and it was a little stereotypical, there was like some very relatable, and I think that's why this movie is so popular, because people can relate, and they can they see themselves in these characters, which is strange, but the subtext, let's see. They were five total strangers with nothing in common, meeting for the first time: a brain, a beauty, a jock, a rebel, and a recluse. Before the day was over, they broke the rules, bared their souls, and touched each other in a way they never dreamed possible. I mean, that's kind of a description of the film. I would highly recommend it. Also get a lot of that 1980s cheese. Let's move on. Oh, let's keep going with the 1980s cheese. Oh my, can I please just, all right. Bring that back. Do this. Do that. Another one of my favorite movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. One man struggled to take it easy. This is an awesome movie. This movie rules, man. This movie rules. Yeah, I kind of like this movie. Inspires me, but inspired me when I was a kid. Even though I think, when did it come out? I was either in my diapers or I wasn't born yet. But and it's just about some kid that just he's just cut school. Like, that's the whole premise, is a kid that cuts school, and just wants to hang out and have a good time. And he just, I think one part in the movie, they cut school and go to a museum. It's a comedy, though. And, it's just like, yeah, it's literally one boy's struggle to take it easy. And so there's also a lot of breaking the fourth wall in this movie, where the character is, and it's not just, if I recall correctly, it's not just the main guy, Ferris Bueller. It's also like the other characters. They are also breaking the fourth wall, right? And they kind of just they criticize the structures of society. Like Ferris Bueller is talking about, yeah, school sucks. The reason why I don't know why I have to go to school, and blah 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 blah. And it's them just critiquing social institutions, and it is kind of making fun of social institutions. At the same time, they're kind of just like doing crazy shit, but it's not really, like, I think after they go to a museum and then eventually they go visit a parade, and they just do a series of crazy shit. I think eventually the principal of the school figures out he's cutting class, so he goes to the house, but then has to deal with her sister, with his sister, who's like, the sister, I believe, is the villain of the movie. It's like there's all this shenanigans with the principal and his sister while at his house. Meanwhile, he's like cutting school with his girlfriend and his best friend. They just do all types of crazy shit. Yeah, do you love Who Framed? Yeah, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is also one of my favorite movies of all time, for sure. Yeah, I love that movie. That movie's awesome. Another classic. I think that movie came out in 1989, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. So yeah, another cool movie. Let's keep it rolling. I got two more. First one, Batman Returns. Hello. This is my favorite Batman movie. The Christopher Nolan Batmans were cool. Heath Ledger does a great Joker, absolutely. What's his name? Christian Bale does Batman, all good. And And then you got the newer Batman with the guy from Twilight, and that's fine and dandy. But I don't know. I think what is his name? Tim Burton. Like, he got it. He understood. Like, I'm not really a fan of this whole approach to like making these superheroes so serious, especially DC. They're really like making these superheroes very dark. Particularly like Superman, right? He's like really broody and like complaining all the fucking time. It's kind of annoying. He's like, "Oh, woe is me! I'm so powerful. I can't believe my powers. I can't. Live because I'm too powerful." Blah 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 blah. I like old school Superman. I like the Superman that was like, he fought bad guys like Nixoplick, where who was some immortal being from an alternative dimension. That the way you defeat Nixoplick is he has to say his name 3 times or something. So Superman has to use his brain to he fights people like Lex Luthor, who's just a normal human. I mean, I guess he's not a normal human. He's like a hyper intelligent businessman or something. But still, like I'm not into the whole like Superman facing off against Darkseid like these. It's a little too much for me. And same thing with the Batman of this newer Batman who's like super serious, and he's I like Adam West Batman, the old school Batman, I like the silliness of it, because I mean ultimately is a guy dressed up like a bat. He's in a bat I mean, how far can you take it in terms of serious? But they went all over the place with it. Now you got this new Joker movie that's like, I hear it's horrible because they're just taking it somewhere where I don't know. I don't think it should go. Tim Burton understood, like, look, I think he got the perfect balance. He got the perfect balance of, look, let's make it a little serious, but not like too serious. Right? It's not like Adam West serious, but it's like, the old school Batman, but it's not like that goofy. It's like, but it's still like a little goofy. Because of course you got Catwoman, and they kind of overplay their characters. Got Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer. They over the top characters. Literally, like Danny DeVito has penguins, like actual penguins, following him. Like, I mean, that's just like, he's a goofball. It's comedic. It is, is action packed. I think they got it right with this one. I really do. The last one I'll say is Back to the Future Part 2. Not 1, but 2. Now, okay, so I'll just leave it here because we almost had our hour. Who Framed Roger Rabbit was definitely like on my list too. But we'll stop here. Back to the Future. Hello, like another action adventure movie. Amazing movie, right? Definitely, I would argue one of the greatest movies ever made. Like taking you on an adventure, on a ride. It doesn't get much better. Most people like Back to the Future 1 better than 2. I like 2 because 2 just like ramps it up. Like they don't go to the past. They don't just go to the past. They go to the future. They go to the future, then they go back to the past, and then they go to the present. They ping pong all over the place. It's just a lot of shit is going on in Back to the Future too, and I love it. I love when like it starts getting all crazy and shit. And yeah, I just like the action adventure nature of Back to the Future too. Or just all of them really. That action adventure style of like taking you on a journey. And a series. It's almost like a video game, right? It's like, he has to defeat all these situations that come up to him. Marty McFly, of course, he has his his trusted sidekick, Doc. The Christopher Lloyd's character, and it's cool. Is there any philosophy in this movie? Not really. I mean, there's a few things like, Marty McFly tries to get personal gain by, I think he like steals like a book that like an almanac. Right? He steals an almanac so he could go back into the past and like bet on horse races or something to get money and shit. But then it all goes crazy, right? Because his selfishness led him to some negative consequences. That whole moral tale, right? And that's about it in terms of, I mean, I'm sure some you can probably think of some other stuff, but for me, it's more just like, the whole action adventure of that time. Those kinds of movies like this, like Indiana Jones movies, even the old school Star Wars, I think like Jurassic Park kind of was the last of that, and then now it's more just like, movies today are more about just trauma dumping. I mean, honestly, that's movies today. It's just trauma dump, which is sad. It's not. Movies aren't escapism anymore. But maybe I'm having my okay boomer moment. Whatever. Okay. Do you love it? And you should watch Sunset Boulevard. Okay, I'll put it on my list. It's too bad. I used to have a movie. There used to be a cool store here where I live. It was called the Black Lodge, and they had movies. You could just rent movies. It was like a Blockbuster Video, but it was more like mom and pop. But they weren't really mom and pop because they were pretty big. But they weren't a chain. They were like an independent store. They were an independent store. You could go rent old movies, but they went defunct. They went out of business, unfortunately. So I gotta figure out where I can get these old movies. It can't do it in Netflix. Netflix, you can't. A lot of these movies that you can't rent at Netflix. I don't know. Maybe just eBay. I'll just buy them or something. Anyway, I think that's it. I'm sure I could go on for quite a while, but I think I'll leave it here. Oh, what I need to do is I need to just do this. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Yeah, I need to do that. Or I could do this, right? Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I just want to thank you for tuning in. On this Saturday night. For me, it's Saturday night. So it's like you could be going out partying. You could go to a real club. But instead, you choose to hang out with me. And that's cool. So thanks for that. We're just keeping it light, talking about movies today. And sometimes you just got to keep it light. Got to just have some cool conversations. And if you're just tuning in later, watching the recording after the fact, feel free. The comment section is open. Feel free to comment about your favorite movie. Or not, whatever. It's all good. But thanks a lot for watching. And maybe I was... I'm trying to think. Will you see me next week? Maybe not. It's so difficult sometimes. Sometimes things come up, and I'm busy. So we'll see. But the next stream, whenever it is, either next week or 2 weeks from now, I hope to see you. But until then, thanks for tuning in. You've been watching the Black Ponderer. Tune in next time for more philosophical thought.